Hey ups, Sofa Squad. We are live, and I'm here again with my brother, Tom of Bedlam, and
Hello.
uh, and tonight we're going to be talking about one of our favourite movies from the '80s, The Burbs. So, so Tom, well, it was your idea for us to talk about The Burbs. What made you choose The Burbs for us to talk about?
Well, it's just great. I love it. I think it's one of those weird films that you end up for the first time. We watched it. Maybe sadly, I think maybe this is the kind of thing that's dying out now. What with streaming, you can watch anything on the internet and stuff like that. But I remember we watched it as a family. Me, you, our other two siblings, and our parents. We just sat
Yeah.
there and we all watched it together. And we were just talking like off air that we we became aware of it having rented out a VHS and seen it on the trailers, and as a family said, "Oh, that looks good," and then we got it out and watched that too. So it's yeah, it's just lots of memories. But yeah, it's very well acted. It's it's just got lots of gags in it, lots of laughs, and it just stays with you for a number of reasons, which I'll get into in a bit. Um,
Yeah.
I guess I should give a quick plot summary, I guess, just so we can sort of set the framework of what we're talking about. Oh,
Yeah.
incidentally, anyone watching who's never seen the Burbs, you should go and watch it and then come back to us. I guess, yeah, because I wouldn't want to spoil it because it's such a. If you haven't, I envy you if you haven't seen it because then you can enjoy it. You can enjoy it this weekend perhaps. But yeah, the film takes place in a suburban cul-de-sac in America.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh, Incidentally, the Burbs is a sort of contraction of the word suburbs, isn't it? It's like the Burbs means the suburbs, doesn't it? I should make that clear. And in this cul-de-sac, we've got sort of four main characters. There's Ray Peterson, played by Tom Hanks, and he lives with his wife Carol and their son, whose name escapes me. And next to him, on one side, is Art Weingartner, who's a sort of, he's kind of a sort of a kind of schlubby, average Joe character. He's sort of like the more of the comic relief, isn't he? Like in this film, he's really funny.
Yeah.
And then across the cul-de-sac, you've got, I think he's about 17, 18-year-old Ricky, played by Corey Feldman, who's a classic
Of the
sort
Goonies fame, of
of
course.
the Goonies, yeah. And he's kind of like a slacker. He's a classic sort of late 80s to 90s American slacker. He's got a cool character, I think. He's quite funny too.
Yeah.
And then next to him, you've got Lieutenant Mark Rumsfeld, who is, I guess, I think he's a retired Vietnam vet, and he lives with his wife. And but the main sort of plot point is on next door to Ray, on the other side of his property, new neighbours have moved in, and the film starts when you see this. I think it's like a really rainy night, isn't it? It's quite a sinister night, and
Yeah.
it's quite sinister sort of horror movie kind of music playing, and you hear this weird noise, this kind of generator kind of noise coming from their basement, and weird lights and everything, and you can tell that it's not normal, is it? It seems sinister, and you see Tom Hanks, sort of checking it out at the start, and then they all of the four characters I mentioned are sort of suspicious. No one, I think, yeah, that's it. None of the they're called they know that they're called the Klopeks, don't know, this new family that's moved in.
Yeah.
No one's ever seen them. They've never emerged from their house. They've left their front lawn to get in a state, and
Yeah.
and the the characters have begun to speculate about, in different ways, some funny, some completely outrageous conspiracy theories, or not even conspiracy theories. They're just like theories about them being Satanists and something like, and
Yeah.
and you know, as the plot develops, so they become more and more suspicious of the Klopeks, and they start to try and you know, investigate them and sort of poke them and prod them to see to see like what they're up to, sort of thing. I want to go back a minute, because I think it's, before we move, this is worth mentioning, and it's this has stuck with me. It's one of the greatest openings to a film I've seen, which is, it starts, you see the Universal sign and a globe spinning around, don't you? And then the camera sort of zooms into Earth, and it zooms all the way in to the cul-de-sac, doesn't it? It's really, that's a really nice little start to the film, and the music's brilliant as well. The music stays with me, like it's a great score for the Burbs, isn't it? It's yeah, so really good. So yeah, it's worth mentioning that. But yeah, you get I think in one of the opening scenes you get Art. He adds a good bit of exposition. He says he was talking to the real estate who sold them the house, the Klopeks, and he said, yeah, their last house, it only burned to the ground.
Neighbors from hell.
And then and he says, maybe. Yeah, so they start to speculate, and it's I think they're not completely acting irrationally. It's not as if they've completely concocted all these stories, because as the plot develops, they're given some reason to think that they're up to no good.
Yeah.
Could we hear? I mean, this is Art talking, so we can't be sure, but maybe their last house did burn to the ground. Who knows? So there's that sinister thing. And then Ray Peterson's son said he's seen them in the back garden digging, and see, that's a sort of like reasonable suspicion. And then he says, Ricky Butler says they're nocturnal feeders. Which is that's the kind
Ricky Butler says.
Yeah. So that's the kind of hyperbolic thing that these characters, that some of the characters add on to it to sort of hype it up, and they must be up to no good and stuff like that.
And there's a really good scene that I remember. Ray's son and Art, they're kind of face to face, having Art is eating the leg of a chicken leg, I think it is, and Ray's son is eating something as well. And they're face to face. It's almost as if they're at the same level of intellect, almost.
Yes, absolutely. You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
oh, sorry, go on.
And Ray's wife, played by Carrie Fisher, asks her son, "What were they doing, honey?" And he says they were digging. And Art says, "What? You mean like grave diggers?" Yeah, maybe.
And you're right. That is really good exposition, isn't it? Because it's all like, it shows you, not tells you. Yeah, like he like Art is like a big man child. So Rick, the son, what is his name? I can't remember the son's name. Yeah, but the son, that's his level of maturity. It's fantastic. So there's all kinds of speculations. Neighbors from hell, their last house burnt to the ground. They're digging. What are they up to? And I think one of the plot points. I think the next plot point is, finally we see one of them, don't we? Like the son. Basically, we see this scruffy-looking ginger kid emerge from the house.
Yeah.
I don't know what's he there to do? Does he just look around for a bit and then go back in? I can't even remember.
It gets the mail out of the mailbox.
That's it. Yeah. And it's really, I love the way. I think even the way it's filmed is very sort of yeah, I guess it's like what everyone it sort of tells us what everyone's thinking.
Yeah.
Is all it is it's just a kid walking out of his front door, but the music is really intense. It's really it's a horror film kind of music, and I think
Yeah.
there's a line which sort of I think when we should talk about the main. I guess one of the main themes is sort of suburban curtain twitcher, sort of hostile to outsiders, kind of suburbanites kind of thing, isn't it? It's just like these are what they're like. They're not very accommodating to people who are different. That's I think that's one of the main themes of the film, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I think this is yeah, it's exemplified by this dramatic music. It's, you know, one of the, and then Rumsfeld says one of the Huns came out of the cave.
Yeah.
And
So yeah, so he's casting them as the bad guys basically
yeah,
by saying that.
Yeah, and the Huns, like I think they do turn out to be German, don't they?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Actually, maybe, yeah. I think actually all we know is that they're definitely not Slavs.
Yeah.
Because one of the Klopeks is just you know, is angry when at the suggestion, but we'll talk about that. But yeah, then he's there, and then Art and Ray are sort of daring each other to. No, they want. He says, "Go and say hello to him," and then he says, "Go on."
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he sort of chickens out, and then they end up daring each other to ring the doorbell to try and talk to their new neighbours. And then instead of they knock the door, and then loads of bees come out of this hole in their front in their wall of their house, isn't it? And then
Yeah.
they get attacked, and then yeah, they don't end up knocking on the door after all. And then
Yeah.
the tension builds.
You look like a chicken in front of your son, Ray. Your son.
Yeah, and that's what winds him up to sort of do it. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's one more sort of thing that we should mention is that Ray is on vacation. He's got a week off work.
Yeah.
And his wife, why don't we just go down the lake? Why don't we just go on holiday? He says no. He has what we now call a staycation. He's like, oh, I just want to hang around the house and be lazy.
Yeah.
You know? And his wife disapproves. He's like, look, you're just going to get bored out of your mind, and you're going to go into you're going to go back to work in worse shape than you are now. And Art, his wife has gone for a week, so he's got like the week off kind of thing. He said it's a big week for the bachelor kid. so he's got a week off. Ricky's parents have gone out for the week, haven't they? And he has to paint his house. That's right.
That's what we're supposed to be doing anyway.
yeah. And I get one assumes that Mark Rumsfeld is sort of retired early on an army pension or something. He doesn't seem to think anyway, you know. So yeah. So they've all. I think a lot of it is that they've all got the week off. They're all bored, so they decide they all fixate on the Klopeks and that, you know. And yeah. So I guess what the next. After the you know when they try and knock on the door and the bees come out and everything, right? The next, I can't even remember. Yeah, the next one is is it the next evening? They decide to, I guess, have a nosy around the Klopeks. Is how it's kind of see what's going on, you know.
Yeah.
And they spy it, and then. It's a rainy night, really cold, and Ricky's invited his girlfriend over to sort of watch from their balcony, you know, like an evening.
This is better than television.
Yeah. This is better than TV. This is my neighborhood. They see the kid come out, and he what is it? He drives the garbage down to the end of his driveway. He puts in the this bin and then just smashes it down with this with something, this big stick, this broom or whatever. And
Yeah.
it looks quite sinister, and it does look odd. You know, it's the kind of thing that would arouse suspicion. And
Yeah.
they, yeah, am I getting the chronology wrong? I don't think I am. I think that's before they go into Walter's house, which we haven't mentioned. There's another neighbour called Walter, an old man
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
lives with his dog. Do they do that after they go into his house or before? Oh no, it's before. It's definitely
It's
before.
before. Yeah.
So basically, they're basing this whole surveillance on hearsay and the fact that they look a bit weird, and that's enough.
Yes.
But yeah,
Yeah.
it's completely sort of paranoid and suspicious, and
Yeah. It's
they're
got to
bored.
fear of the other.
Exactly, yeah, they're scared and mistrustful of this mysterious family that they're not the kind of family that like them. They're not like them. That's basically it, isn't it? Yeah,
Yeah.
they're the other, so they must be investigated and surveilled to make sure they're not up to no good. And then the next day they go tearing through the garbage and all that. They don't find anything, but then this old man who lives at the end of the cul-de-sac, his dog is running around without him, and then they end up they break into Walter's house
Yeah.
to see what's going on, and there's a chair turned upside down and the TV's still on, which Rumsfeld describes as signs of a struggle, isn't it?
Yeah.
So, it does look weird. This old man's just disappeared. There's the Copex, you know, and I think we're led to believe that there's something fishy going on as well. It's not like we know there's nothing wrong and the characters are just all delusional. You know, they've got some reason to be suspicious, but they are acting completely over the top. These characters, and it all builds up, and then the plot goes on from there, and then Ray puts a note under Walter's, because they decide to look after the dog, don't they? So Ray puts a note under Walter's door saying, "We've got your dog. You know, come and get him." And then, but he's seen by another Klopek looking through the window.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
An old man. Yeah. And then Rumsfeld and what's his name? Art.
Yeah.
Without Tom Hanks knowing, they put a note under the Klopek's door saying, "I know what you've done." And they assume that it's Ray because we are led. Yeah, I think we find out. Yeah, pretty much. But they assume that it's Ray that did that because he saw him put the note under Walter's door. So there's. But I think the main thing. So we've got I missed out a bit. Whereas after they sort of like spy on the Klopeks and see him take the garbage out and all that, we see this is quite sinister. When I was a kid, I thought it looks quite a sinister kind of scene where you see Ray looking out his bedroom window into the back garden of the Klopeks, and he sees all three of them in the pouring rain. There's three of them, aren't there?
Yeah.
All three Klopeks with they've got these kind of weird monk-like shawls on them, haven't they?
Yeah.
And all three of them are digging with these sort of like they're sort of like pickaxes, aren't they?
Yeah.
All three of them are digging holes in their back garden in the pouring rain with these shawls on them, and you think, and that when you watch it, you think, that does look pretty suspicious, actually.
Yeah.
So, and when he tells the others, they're like grave diggers. I think they're gold and all that.
Yeah.
And when Walter disappears, I think there's no, that's what they were doing. They were digging holes and burying him. They've murdered Walter. That's the main thing. Is they've murdered Walter, and they were digging. They're suspicious, and then the main piece of evidence comes where Ray's dog digs up a femur, which is a human thigh bone, out from under the Klopek's fence.
Yeah.
And that's when the suspicions are peaked to insane levels, basically.
Yes, and again, Ray's wife, Carol, um, played by Carrie Fisher, she delivers a brilliant line which sums up the movie perfectly.
Mm.
She says, "Look, before one of you falls off a roof or sets themselves on fire, let's just go round there and
And
introduce ourselves."
yeah, so yeah, that's and then that sets up probably one of my favourite scenes in the film, where they go around there, Carol and Rumsfeld's wife, Ray and Rumsfeld. They go around there with they've got a plate full of brownies and all that, and to introduce themselves as neighbours.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yes.
yeah, and there's a great. We find out there's three of them. There's the kid. There's Uncle Reuben, who's a very sinister looking bloke, and he probably because he saw the note, because of the note they've received saying, "I know what you've done." They've got every reason, and he thinks it's Ray. So he's really hostile to Ray, isn't he?
Yeah.
And he stares at Ray the whole time. And then we meet his brother, the doctor.
Yes.
And there's a great thing where there's a great scene where the doctor says, "Oh, and it seems that we may have to move again."
Yeah.
And
The doctor, played by the brilliant Henry Gibson.
yeah, Henry Gibson. Yeah, he's been in lots of films. Yeah, and I think it's Carol who says, "Oh, that's a shame. Isn't that a shame, honey?" And then Tom Hanks goes, "Yeah, that's a shame." Then Rumsfeld goes, "Says who?" Yeah, and so while they're doing that, and then obviously Art is trying to. It's a really stupid thing to do, but Art is trying to sort of listen in. He sneaks into the Kopech's back garden whilst they're, making nice. While the others are sort of making nice with the Kopechs, and then he gets chased out by the Kopech's dog. And then we find out later. I mean, that's the thing. They go back to, everyone goes back to Ray's house. Ray, Carol and Rumsfeld's wife say, they're fine. They're a little bit eccentric, but there's nothing wrong with them really. I think, and then Ray agrees with them. He's like, "Yeah, I think they're clean," And then the other two are like, "What are you talking about? You sided with the chicks against us and all this." And then, but that turns out to be a ruse. Tom Hanks, Ray, doesn't really think that. He was just saying that to placate, his wife. And in private, he reveals that he found Walter's wig, his toupee. He found the toupee in the Kopech's house.
You've had that down your shorts this whole time?
Yeah. And that's it. That's like the final piece of evidence. The beamer, digging, Walter's disappearance, and now they found his wig in their house. They have murdered Walter. So
because up until then, Ray had been, the skeptic. He didn't want to face up to, the very real possibility that his neighbors could be psychopaths. But then finding Walter's toupee in their house, that pushed him over the edge.
Yeah, because he it's quite funny because he is the most skeptical, but he still goes along with the investigations before then. He wasn't all, it's funny that the slipping of the note under the door. That's the kind of stupid thing that Art would do. That's what Tom Hanks does. He's like, because he's trying to smoke him out and like give him a little nudge and all that. But yeah, he goes along with the investigation, but he doesn't. He's sort of skeptical. He's like, oh, there's probably a reasonable explanation for it all, Yeah, but the discovery of the toupee is the final thing that convinces him that they're up to no good. And then the next scene, the next day, it's actually quite convenient, but the Kopechs, because they do foreshadow it actually. The Kopechs they say, "Oh, tomorrow we're all going away for the day to talk about another move. You know, we're gonna have to move into another house." And so they go out for the day. Carol and the Petersons' son decide to go out for the day to see their cousins, like, you know, and all that. And I think Ray said he's going to go out playing golf with Art, isn't it? So there's a sort of cover story. It's interesting. Rumsfeld's wife, we don't really find out what she's doing. She doesn't seem to be in either, which is lucky, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe she's just indoors and she doesn't care what's going on. But yeah, so the plan is once the Klopeks are out of the way and Ray's wife is out of the way, their plan. He actually says that the night before. Tomorrow I'm going over the fence, and I'm not coming back till I find a dead body.
Just to rewind a bit, we missed our favourite scene. One of our favourite scenes, I think, you know, certainly one of my favourite scenes is when Ray's friend Art is still trying to convince Ray that they're evil. You know, they're from the devil. And he's got this book of satanic rituals.
Oh yeah.
And Ray doesn't want to hear it, so he's covering up his ears, and he's chanting, "I don't want to listen to this. I don't want to hear this now."
Yeah.
And as Art mistakenly thinks that he's chanting, "I want to kill everyone. Satan is good. Satan is our pal."
Yeah. Yeah.
Once they get in here, it's over, pal.
Yeah. I like it when he's looking through that. God knows where he got that. What is it? The book of satanic rituals or something. And he's like, the incubus, the succubus. I'm telling you, Walter was a human sacrifice. He's got no evidence to base that on whatsoever.
And then later on in bed, Ray and Carol are discussing it, and Carol says, "So let me get this straight. Walter was a human sacrifice to Beelzebub." And Ray says, "That's one of the theories, yeah."
Yeah. One of the theories, yeah. So he does sort of get sucked into it a little bit. You know, he's not. He's more skeptical than Art and Rumsfeld, but he's still sort of on their side of this. You know, he's not. He doesn't poo-poo it. Well, he does. He poo-poos the Satanism and all that nonsense, but he's still definitely suspicious, and and he gets worse and worse and worse. And so the scene is set. The final scene where they break into the house and they're digging in the garden for a while. They can't find anything, so they go into the house, into the basement, and they find the furnace, and it's huge, isn't it? It's all it's all souped up. I don't know if this is even possible. He says that, you know, Art looks at the thermostat on the furnace, and he says a normal thermostat isn't meant to go up to like 4,000 degrees, is it? Is that even possible to go up to 4,000? It's very hot for me. Is the sun 4,000 degrees? I don't know. Whatever. Like it gets hotter than any sort of normal furnace should ever get. You know. So that's just different. And then they something, I can't remember what they look at, but it convinces them that they must have dug the bodies up and buried them here in the basement. So they start digging into the basement.
Yeah.
Ray hits the gas line, and then he's like, "You got to get out of it! It's going to blow!" And then they end up. The house explodes. You know, they blow up the house. And for a minute, like Ray's in there, you think, "Oh, what's happened?" You know. And then he emerges because covered in scorch marks and soot and like it's like a cartoon.
Yeah.
And he's alive, you know. And the Klopeks. Oh yeah, whilst they're doing that, Walter comes back and he's perfectly fine. So you see his daughter's like driven him home. So Walter is not in the house, you know. And then the Klopeks come back and the police and all that, you know. And yeah, and then they're all in deep trouble because they
Yeah.
both, as they've blown up, destruction to private and public property. He gets read out all the list of offences by the police,
Yes.
and then that's when Ray loses it because Art is sort of saying, "Oh, one day they're going to find the rest of the skeleton to match up with that femur," and then Ray's like, "Shut up." So they're
Yeah.
different. They're different. They keep themselves to themselves. He goes, can you blame them? They live next door to people who break into their house and burn it down when they're gone for the day. And then he gets into, it's a really well acted sort of rant he goes on about, people people in the Burbs, people they tell a story about Skip, don't they, this murderer that used to live in the Burbs. We haven't really got into that yet, but we're the paranoid ones, we're the lunatics. It's not people, it's us. And then but there's a twist. Ray goes into the back of the hospital. No, sorry, the ambulance. Yeah. And
That's right. Yeah.
And then Dr. Klopek is in there, and he confesses, doesn't he? He says that they murdered. He doesn't confess in a kind of, I'll come quietly kind of. He confesses because he's got a syringe, presumably full of something that's going to kill Ray, and he holds Ray down, and he says, they murdered the previous tenants, the previous owners of the house, and he's trying to kill Ray, and then Ray breaks free, and then it's they smash it. They're both on the stretcher that Ray's on there. It's quite a good scene. Klopek's on top trying to stab him with a syringe, and then they're sort of struggling on top of this moving stretcher that's careening down the street, and then it bangs into the Klopek's car, and they both fall out. And then Ray's saying he's confessed they murdered the Naps, weren't they? That was the name of the previous owner. And the police are saying you haven't got a stiff, you haven't got a body, you haven't got any evidence at all. And then, but when they banged into the car, it opened up their boot, their trunk, didn't it? And then Ricky lifts up this sort of what is it? Like there's a blanket covering something in the trunk, and then we see the skeletons, presumably of the Naps, but it could have been there's a lot of bones in there, so it could have been some other victims of them as well. And it turns out that Art and Rumsfeld and Ray and Ricky, they were right. They were up to no good. They were murderers, and then they get taken away.
Yeah.
That's all like sort of that winds up the film. Although sort of Tom Hanks sort of says, sort of Ray Peterson sort of says, let's go away, let's go and have a proper vacation. Maybe we'll get away from the Burbs for a while. So he has sort of, it's not like it's all back to normal, is it? I think the experience has told him that he needs to sort of get some perspective and not be such a sort of paranoid curtain twitcher kind of thing.
Yeah.
Art hasn't learned his lesson at all. He's saying, Geraldo Rivera is going to come here and excavate the Klopek's, back garden or something.
I think this sends a message to psychopaths everywhere. We're not going to tolerate it anymore. We are out to get them. We are out to get them.
Yeah, exactly. So he feels completely vindicated. All of his behaviour, even though most of it was unfounded and despicable in some ways.
Yes.
But that's the plot, and that's the story, and it's got loads of funny. It's just so funny as well. It's got these great lines, and really good scenes. Really, that we haven't talked about the dream sequence, which we should probably leave to the anyone who hasn't seen it to watch themselves. But that's a great scene. That's a really good scene. The story about Skip. That's a really good. It adds a little bit of atmosphere. It's a weird kind of. The vibe of it is half horror comedy, half just normal sort of slacker. It's almost like a slacker comedy. Everyone's got the week off. He's in his pajamas a lot of the time. And all that. The whole film, we should add, is set in that one cul-de-sac, which I like. I like films that are set in one location. They're quite interesting, I think. Yeah, the theme. I suppose in a minute we should talk about the alternate endings because
Mm.
there's a bit of controversy about the Burbs. No, I didn't know about this until I did a bit of research about it. But overall, a very funny, very witty, well acted. We should talk about the performances as well. Tom Hanks is superb. Carrie Fisher is
Yes,
great. Um, this what's his name?
Bruce Dern.
Bruce Dern is fantastic as Rumsfeld. His wife,
Yeah.
the woman who plays
Wendy
his wife,
Shao.
yeah, she did the voice of uh, American Dad. You seen American Dad, the
Yeah,
cartoon?
yeah.
The wife of American Dad, whose name escapes
Oh,
me.
right, yeah.
He does the voice of her.
Hmm.
That's an interesting sort of factoid there. But
Yeah,
yeah, and Corey Feldman's he's perfect as the kid, and Rick Dukeman playing. Oh, he is great as well. He steals almost every scene he's in, pretty much. He's brilliant as well. So it's perfectly cast, isn't it? You wouldn't. I can't imagine anyone else playing those characters.
no.
And Tom Hanks is superb, and it's one of my favourite films that he's in, definitely. And yeah, it's lovely, great music, and the all three Klopeks are well cast as well, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, they're sort of contrast with each other. You've got the kind of nervous kind of kid. You've got the sinister he's played by a guy called Brother Theodore.
That's right,
Um,
yeah.
I'm not sure what else this guy's been in, or if he's even usually an actor. I don't know. I have to do a bit of research on Brother Theodore, and of course, Henry Gibson's perfect as he's kind of the most erudite and socially adept Klopek, isn't he?
Yeah. Yeah.
The women are quite charmed by him when they finally get talking to him, when they go around for dinner or they go around, just to visit. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just a nice thing. It's got a good message about people being insular and suspicious and being curtain twitchers and all that. I think perhaps I think we can relate to it, in a lot of no matter where you're from. But I guess Americans would perhaps get the satire even more. Maybe they know American suburban areas and they can see a lot more. But I think that phenomenon occurs in a lot of places.
Yeah. Yeah. So
But yeah,
yeah, definitely.
overall, there's a kind of it just the dialogue, the comedy flows naturally from the situation and the characters and the dialogue, and it flows really nicely. I think there's no the only thing I guess you could describe, the bee attack and the dog coming out of the basement in the Kopek's house as comedy set pieces, but they don't really feel like set pieces, do they? They seem
No.
they're sort of interwoven in the plot anyway, so they don't seem like gratuitous or I think a lot of there's nothing that we see now in a lot of comedies. You can almost imagine someone in the writing team saying, "Oh, wouldn't it be funny if," and then that leads to some kind of comedy set piece, which is sort of doesn't move the plot on at all. Or just wouldn't it be funny if this happened or that happened?
Yeah.
But you don't get that sense in any of the events happening in the Burbs. Like when the dog comes out of the basement, that leads to something that moves the plot along. The scene with the garbage, it tells us about them, how crazed they've got. I suppose I should talk about the garbage.
Yeah.
That the garbage men come around to collect the garbage, and they've already he's already taken the one that they've seen the kid take out from the Klopeks, and they put it in the van, so they're jumping in there, searching for it, looking for a dead body.
Yeah. And and of course, Lieutenant Rumsfeld is half shaved as well. Still got half a shaving foam on.
Yeah. and one of the garbage men is I've forgotten this guy's name, but he's in Gremlins, which is also directed by Joe Dante, who directed the Burbs.
Yeah,
And
he was also in Terminator.
oh yeah, he's the guy who sells the
You know
gun.
your weapons, buddy.
Yeah. Uzi 9mm. Yeah. So yeah, the exposition is really good of what kind of people they are. It's satire, and I think all satire has to be slightly over emphasized. You know,
Yeah.
it's heightened, so we really get the point. And yeah, it's a great movie all around, really. And it's the kind of film you can come back to again and again. I've watched it a lot of times, and I've enjoyed it every time. So I think
Yeah, me too.
I think it's worth talking about the alternate ending because there is the controversy surrounding this film, which I wasn't aware of until I did a bit of research. I sent you a link, didn't I, to watch this thing on YouTube. They filmed an alternate ending. I think they filmed this one first, and then they filmed the one that is on the actual film. So the one they filmed first, it's bizarre and it's completely out of. I can say it's kind of consistent with the film, but it just seems really odd when you've watched the reshot ending all your life. It's slightly different. They get arrested. The Klopeks sort of confess, don't they? And then the Klopeks have a big he gives a big speech to the policeman how suspicious people are in the suburbs and all that. Everywhere we go, people stare at us and treat us like outsiders. So they make the same kind of point, but on a really on the nose, sort of unsubtle way.
Yeah.
And it's just a bit odd, isn't it? It doesn't seem it seems like a good idea that they reshot it. Really. I mean, did you have any thoughts on the original ending?
Yeah, yeah. I can see why they didn't they reshot it. They because the Klopeks were acting completely out of character.
Yeah.
Especially the young one, Hans.
Yeah.
Suddenly he's talking.
Yeah.
But the point of his character, he doesn't say anything. He hardly says anything. He hardly says a word.
Yeah.
But all of a sudden he's saying, people, in the suburbs, people, are always watching us, but we always used to get away with it in Los Angeles,
Yeah, and it's really strange because I think what happens is the Dr. Klopek comes out about this speech about how feeling like an outsider and all that, but he also said there's a line that doesn't really work either. He says, okay, so we wanted to do the odd human sacrifice. Which was a bit strange. But then the speech seems to get through to Hank to Ray, doesn't it? And he seems to. There's a look on his face where he films. You can tell he's feeling a little bit guilty about the way he's acted, even though they're guilty of murder.
Yes. Yeah.
At the end, like it seems like Art is the only one who still thinks that they were justified in what they did, which is strange. Like he comes up to Art, and Art sort of says, "Oh," doesn't talk to him, and walks off to into his house, and then he says, he approaches Rumsfeld. He says, "Oh, do you want to go bowling?" And then he's like, "Nah, not tonight." And he seems like Art's sort of been sort of shunned a little bit, because he's the one who sort of pushed most for this, But so it doesn't really, it's a bit inconsistent, and that whole thing about the speech is sort of it's a bit too on the nose. I think it's a bit too obvious, isn't it?
Yeah.
So it doesn't work. Doesn't work for me at all. But
No.
there is an added controversy, which I literally found out, an hour before this live stream, which it makes it even more controversial. I haven't got the absolute straight story on this, but apparently in the script at least, the original ending wasn't like either of those two. In the original ending, Ray dies.
All right.
Yeah, and I've had I've had two accounts. I'll read you something on IMDb because I've got it up. This is bizarre and it doesn't seem to make any sense to me. Maybe it's like a typo or something, but I should probably read their description because it might do a bit more. Yeah. The one that we just talked about, it says it does have a few more scenes, which includes Hans being interrogated by the police, Dr. Werner Klopek giving a speech to the police on what is wrong with the suburbs, and Rubin telling Ray that he was going to enjoy having him over for their final dinner.
That's right. Yeah.
It's quite funny, that bit, I guess. The third and most downbeat ending, which according to IMDb was filmed, so it maybe exist somewhere, which has not been released in any form officially, is supposed to have Ray getting killed in the ambulance by Werner. The Klopeks are pronounced innocent, and this is the bit that doesn't make sense. And garbage bags are found bound and gagged in the Klopeks' car trunk.
That's weird.
Yeah, garbage bags. Does he mean garbage bags with bodies in them, or just empty garbage bags? How can you gag? How can you gag a garbage bag?
I know. That's weird.
Apparently, this ending follows the original ending contained in the script. And but I found this is intriguing. I found a comment on the bottom of the YouTube video for the the alternate ending that we just talked about, and it says here, just read an interview with director Joe Dante in the book Shock Express Volume 1. He says that there was a third ending shot too, one where the Tom Hanks character dies and the Klopeks turn out to be completely innocent.
Right.
So it's weird. Was the bloke who wrote this on IMDb right? Or, I mean, this bloke's very familiar. I did look up Shock Express. I can't find the text of the interview. There's a blog which doesn't have the text. It's only £1.25 on Amazon, so I might get it just to put this together. Because it seems that IMDb, correct me if I'm wrong, is it a bit like Wikipedia where these things are added by sort of anyone can add something as long as you're registered with IMDb, isn't it? So like it's just as likely to be false as or inaccurate as what this bloke is saying. But I did look up Shock Express Joe Dante interview, so there is a book called Shock Express which does contain an interview with Joe Dante. So maybe that bloke's account is more. I mean, that makes more sense because that would really hammer home the point that they were just paranoid, suspicious of the other insular, and it turns out that their paranoia and their sort of what do you call it? Their prejudice led to not only the death of Ray Peterson, but it also turns out it was completely futile, and the Klopeks turned out to be completely innocent. And it's like saying, don't treat people that are different to you like this with suspicion. Yeah. So that would seem to be much more make much more sense. My problem with that is that it would be if Ray Peterson died. I mean, he doesn't say if that. Oh, sorry. I should probably make the point that if the Klopeks are completely innocent, then I suppose it means that Ray did die in the explosion. That's the only way he could die, I'd imagine.
Yeah.
In the in the original script. Maybe I'll do a bit more research on this, try and find the original script and put that to bed. But yeah, that's if the Klopeks are innocent, then that would make sense. Their paranoia, suspicion, prejudice leads them to blow up the house. Ray dies, and it's all a big, a big sort of lesson in, prejudice and suspicion and all that. But my problem is that it would be completely against the tone of the rest of the film. Yeah, it would. To end it in a horrible, depressing, preachy ending would ruin the film, wouldn't it? I think. What do you think about that?
I think it would in a way. It would kind of it'd be the film would end on a downer. Really, it would it'd be a bit it'd be a bit too dark, I think.
Yeah, and I think the point is well made in the original, in the final theatrical release, in the original, in the ending that we know and love. They make the point, just because the Klopeks turn out to be guilty, it doesn't mean that their behaviour has been perfectly rational and honourable. The neighbours.
Yeah.
The point is well made about them cursing twitching. It's just like a little twist at the end that actually they are guilty anyway. It's not. It doesn't negate the satire throughout the film. And I read a bit of apparently this isn't well reviewed. It's only got, I think it's a 52% on Rotten Tomatoes. And one of the reviews said that Joe Dante was forced by the producers to change the ending. And I think this is one of the cases of the producers were right.
Yeah.
They're completely right.
Yeah.
I'm not one for cheesy Hollywood endings for the sake of it, but this isn't like a serious film. This is a comedy. This is a comedy, a black comedy in many cases, and a horror comedy in some instances. But it is a comedy. The tone would be that if Ray died and it turned out the Klopeks was innocent, that would ruin the tone. I don't think you can have any of the main characters dying. I mean, you can imagine Carol screaming in anguish if her husband dies. That is not. That would be that would be it just wouldn't fit, and it would have made it worse. I think Joe Dante was wrong, but we don't know. I mean, I don't know. Maybe, who knows? This bloke, maybe it could be hearsay. This comment, couldn't it, on YouTube? Maybe his mates read this Shock Express. He paraphrased, and then he's trying to claim that it's a fact that he knows as well. But yeah, you can read a lot of screenplays on the internet. Maybe I'll try and find the original. But I think that would have been a terrible mistake. And I don't think I would have loved it or watched it so many times if it had that ending.
No, me neither. I don't think.
Yeah, so it's sad because I looked I researched the film. Rick Dukeman, who plays Art, has passed away. And obviously brother Theodore has passed away. Carrie Fisher has passed away. Yeah, they all look so young, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Well, they
were, yeah. But Carrie Fisher, this wasn't that far after Return of the Jedi, I imagine. I think the Burbs was 89.
Yeah.
When was
Pink Jedi was 87.
87, yeah. So I'll just double check this. Yeah, 89. So it's only 2 years after Jedi. Yeah, she's very good in that. She's very good in that, actually. But yeah, it's a solid film, and if anyone ignored my advice at the start and hasn't watched it but is listening to this, go and watch it because it's a really good film. It's a kind of film I'd recommend. If you're gonna either watch it straight away, or if you're gonna wait till Halloween. It's a good sort of little Halloween film to watch, I think, because there's sinister music and there's good sort of sinister effects in it, and it's a good bit of fun.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I like Joe. Yeah, obviously Gremlins. Again, Gremlins. I can see maybe this is sort of form with he likes Gremlins is a lot darker. People do die in Gremlins.
Yeah.
And that's a proper horror comedy. So maybe his vision for this, he didn't write it. A bloke called Dana. It's a bloke called Dana Olson wrote the script.
Yeah.
But I think he wanted to go with the original and all that. But he probably read the script and wanted to make it. Maybe he had a view of a much darker kind of thing, but it doesn't really come across like that. I mean, I don't know if you've seen Joe versus the Volcano. That's another film.
Yeah, yes, I have. Yeah,
that's quite. that actually, yeah, that's got a kind of a dark tinge to it as well. So I think all of these films are they're kind of comedy, dark. They're all kind of dark comedies, aren't they? I think actually,
Yeah,
they're all sort of black comedies. Yeah, so maybe I think maybe he had a bit of a darker vision from the Burbs as well. I think out of the
yeah,
three, the Burbs is probably the lighter of the three, isn't it? You know.
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, but yeah, but solid 80s film which has lots of lovely organic comedy, not comedy that's forced. There's no vulgarity in it at all.
No,
There's no real nastiness in it. You know, it's just I think there's a few. I think ITV4. You know, you get a lot of films. You know, the ITV4 show here in England, and there's a couple of things. There's a tiny bit of swearing and a couple of things cut out of it, and they show the Burbs at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on normal terrestrial television in England now, don't they? So it's not,
yeah,
with a couple of tweaks, it's completely sort of harmless, but it's still really funny.
yeah,
So yeah, so it's a classic 80s film.
yeah, definitely. I think we need to talk about the dream sequence.
Yeah,
Because that's a pivotal, part of the movie
yeah.
in many ways.
First, we have to sort of introduce that bit by talking about very quickly
Oh
art.
yes, yeah,
There's a scene where Ricky and Art are sort of like having a beer together just on the street, and
yeah,
Ray comes out to walk his dog, doesn't he?
yeah,
And they talk, and then Art tells his story. There was a bloke called Skip who used to sell ice creams. He was like an ice cream man, wasn't he? And
yeah,
and then one summer, a terrible smell started to emanate from his house, and it turns out that, and one day there are flames like coming from his house, and the police run in, and all the firemen run in, and they find Skip's whole family murdered, and Skip had murdered them with an ice pick, and
yeah,
then it kept them down in the basement. Yeah, so there's that sort of like true horror story about that. It's sort of that area. They don't. It's sort of in that sort of area. It's not in that exact road street that it happened, but definitely in that area, didn't it?
yeah,
And
yeah.
then the dream sequence. Well, maybe you want to describe the dream sequence.
Well, yeah. So Ray is left alone in bed watching these horror movies, and he falls asleep watching watching these horror movies, and um, he hears this noise, and he goes downstairs, and this chainsaw comes through the wall and cuts the family portraits in half, and
Yeah,
it's quite interesting because the one half has got Carol and his son, and the other half has got Ray. So it's almost illustrative that Ray is being separated from the rest of the family,
yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. It's like his obsession is separating him from his family.
yeah, and then he's in the back garden. There's a barbecue, and Art is there dressed up as Skip. He said, "Don't worry, it's not really Skip. It's me, Art. I'm just pretending to be Skip." And the Klopeks are out there, and they're dressed like devil worshippers, and in
Yeah.
robes and hoods, and they're chanting, "We want to kill everyone. Satan is good. Satan is our pal."
Yeah. And then is it the Uncle Reuben Kopek? He's
Yeah,
he holds up a big knife and says,
yeah,
mind your own business."
yeah. That's right. Yeah,
it's quite interesting. Yeah, as like the knife descends, that's when he wakes up, and then he wakes up to, is it Mr. Rogers?
Yeah, Mr. Rogers, yeah.
And this
And
year, Tom Hanks has played Mr. Rogers in a
yeah,
film, which is interesting.
yes,
Yeah, that's a strange coincidence. But
yeah,
yeah, that's a great dream sequence. Yeah, it's quite dark. Yeah, and you see some clips from the Texas Chainsaw Massacre that Ray's watching on bed before he falls asleep, and
yeah,
and The Exorcist and all that. Yeah, so yeah, it sets the tone. Yeah, so there's definitely a dark, sinister side running right through the film,
yeah,
And yeah, that's a good scene. Yeah, it's just it's got they get it gets the tone just right as well. It's never serious, but it's still quite sinister, and it's tougher than it sounds, I reckon, to ride that line. I think.
yeah. But I think they do it well.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. I think it's Tom Hanks is perfect because he sort of rides the line between being hysterical and suspicious, but also he's got some sense.
Yeah,
He yeah, he's like, aren't we going over the top a little bit here? Night vision goggles. So,
yeah,
yeah,
yes,
yeah. So he has some sense, even when he's sort of completely bought into it. But
yeah,
and they can be forgiven for their behaviour in some of their behaviour. They find a
yeah,
human bone, they see digging, and they find the wig. So it's not like there is evidence. There is some evidence to go on. They're not completely paranoid.
no.
Yeah,
But rational people would call the police.
yeah. The police. I guess there's one bit when he says it's when they go into Walter's place and when he's gone missing, and then Tom Hanks says maybe we should call the police, and Ray's like, oh yeah, good plan, Ray.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He sort of poo-poos it. He said, why not call the police? Maybe they think the Klopeks would cover their tracks if the police came round.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah, so they don't want to they don't want to put the Klopeks on guard, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
I was sort of thinking of one minor criticism in the kind of logic of the plot. They have a huge dog that would be a formidable guard dog.
yeah,
When they go out to talk, I guess they go into an estate agent to talk about another move or whatever. Oh no, they're going to the university where Dr. Klopek teaches, I think, or something like that, wasn't it? And
yeah.
he's a pathologist, but I don't know, something like that, or the institute, wherever he's going, and they take the dog with them.
Yes. Yeah.
And I think that it was a case of like last minute rewriting. Oh damn, the dog. That would scare. They wouldn't be able to enter the house if the dog's still there. So
No.
they drive away with the huge dog in the car.
Because it's convenient for the plot for them to do so.
Yeah. I guess that's one. Yeah, I reckon that. Maybe I'm wrong, but that seems to be. Oh damn, we forgot about the dog. Okay,
Yes.
he goes with them. And when I didn't. That's the first time when I watched the film again for this live stream, and that's the first time I questioned it actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, before then I never even questioned. Oh, why didn't they leave the dog there to guard everything?
Yeah.
But, yeah, maybe they didn't. Maybe they can't trust. They do keep him in the basement. They can't.
Yeah.
Maybe they can't trust him in the house alone because he's gonna. They do.
Yeah.
They do put all the bones in the back of the car, so they don't want to leave anything there incriminating anyway. It turns out when Klopek is sort of revealing his dastardly doings to Ray in the back of the ambulance, he does say, "Oh, you looked in the furnace. You saw one of my skulls, didn't you?" So but they didn't look inside the furnace, so yeah, he needn't have worried about that. But I guess they left one piece of incriminating evidence in there.
Yeah.
But again, you could make the criticism: why did he leave the one single skull in there when they had a whole trunk full of skulls in the back of the
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe it wouldn't fit in. Maybe they couldn't close the boot with that last skull in there.
Oh, yeah.
They had to leave it behind, and they didn't have time to dig a hole and put it in there, so they just chucked in the fur. Yeah, but these are quibbles. It's not that kind of film where you have to. I think some films, if it's like a serious film, and the whole thing hinges on one, like there's a sort of like a consistent logic in the film, then those films, those things are really bad criticisms. But if it's a comedy film like this, who cares? It's not these are little quibbles. It's not the kind of film that has to be 100% consistently logical all the way through. I mean, it's just they are. I mean, we don't in the ending, the final theatrical ending that we all know, it's not made clear whether they are human sacrifices, or just. But there's something going on there because they murdered the elderly couple who owned the house previously, and instead of disposing of the body, they keep their bones for safekeeping. Yeah. So there's something weird going on there. Maybe it's some kind of weird sort of medical obsession because he's a doctor, but then the kid and the uncle are involved in this as well, which is weird. Maybe they are. Yeah, we don't know why. We don't know the real motive. They wanted to buy the house. The Naps didn't want to sell, so they murdered them. But all the other stuff, keeping the bones, and all this other stuff, we don't really know the motive for. Yeah, so I mean, I guess they're serial killers, because serial killers keep trophies, don't they? I guess.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's probably all it is.
Yeah. But there's lots of moody kind of scenes. Yeah, I agree with I think that is my favourite scene when they're in the basement talking about the black masses.
Yes.
The incubus, the succubus.
Mutilations.
Yeah, as if that sort of is an answer to anything,
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's satirical, it's funny, it's original, and it's if you can maintain a film and maintain the audience's attention, for an hour and a half to 2 hours, when it's set in one cul-de-sac with a limited number of characters, you've written a good script there, I think, and you've made a good film.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, it seems like it was I know Rotten Tomatoes isn't, the be all and end all, but I don't know what the reviews were like at the time. I don't think it was terribly successful, so it seems to be an underappreciated gem as well.
Yeah, definitely.
So I guess sorry?
Sorry, go on.
I guess I was about to say that. I guess that sort of sums it up, really.
Yeah.
Unless there's something you'd like to add about the Burbs.
No. I think we've covered everything.
Yeah.
So I think we'll wrap things up there. We've been talking for about 1 hour and 10 minutes, but it hasn't felt that long at all. It's been a great conversation.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It's a film I haven't had a chance to talk about this film in such detail for a long time. So yeah, I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. Anyway, so if you've liked this video and you'd like to see more, then give us a thumbs up and If you're new and you haven't yet subscribed, then do subscribe and hit the bell icon so you never miss another video. Okay, bye for now.